Hello, my healers and health seekers. It's me, Choda, healing with medical medium information for 34 months now because I mathed it. And today is part 2 of my saga of getting into the RV and getting to the RV park and moving out of our apartment and traveling and visiting family. Oh my goodness, it got so long talking about it in the first video, which is linked below, that I had to start again on a second video. Whew. Okay, so please watch the first video because then this is all going to make more sense, because I'm just going to start where I left off. So here we are. We got to the RV park, right? We're here. We're here where all our family lives, both sides. We're here, and I had just had such a great night's sleep the first night, and I was just feeling so grateful for my fast recovery time and amazed that I was feeling kind of returned to my basic normal. I mean, my basic normal, but needing some rest, but feeling so much better than I expected to feel after all that we had just been through. Oh my goodness. And of course, we took the first day to just gather ourselves and get some rest. And this RV park is actually quite close to my husband's parents' house, which has been very convenient because he can just sort of run back and forth. And we've been able to like borrow their SUV when we needed it. And all of our mail's being forwarded to their house right now. That's our mailing address. We had a bunch of packages waiting for us and we needed some of the stuff. So he just like ran and picked it up and, you know, got groceries and did that. But he got to go and see his parents the very first day, which is awesome. He was up for it and ready to do it. And so my son went over there with him and they got to see them, and that was great. So for me, it was a day of kind of rest and recovery and making food and getting recipes together and deciding what we were going to eat that wasn't curry. And the first meal I made, like the first dinner I made that night, and I handed it to my son and I said, "Here you go, it's not curry." And he was like, "Great." The first few days are a little bit of a blur. We still had to sort out getting the RV exhaust manifold fixed. I think my husband was maybe on the phone to mechanics and so we were trying to pinpoint a time, because what was going to happen was so here's what happens when you live in a motorhome. When we needed to fix it, because it's a motorhome and not a fifth wheel or something that's on a trailer hitch that can be detached from the vehicle that pulls it, if you need to get something fixed in the engine, you're taking your home and handing it over to a mechanic, and they're going to have it for however long it takes them to fix it. And the mechanic that we were talking to, so first we're going back and forth with these different mechanics because they had given us quotes that were quite high. We had gotten a quote from the guy in Wisconsin who said he could do it for like $1,800, which is, well, a lot, a lot. But we were getting quotes of like $3,000 from the mechanics here, and we were like, that's ridiculous. Why are you giving us these quotes that are so high? And we looked at the itemized quotes and it was like saying 20 hours of labor, and the guy in Wisconsin said it would be 8. And we were like, why are you giving us quotes for 20 hours of labor? Anyway, it was like a back and forth thing. Finally, we get a truck mechanic because we have a diesel engine, and so it can be repaired by the same people who repair big rigs, 18-wheelers, if they are willing to work with motorhomes, which a lot of them are not. So finally find a truck guy who has a bay big enough to do a motorhome and says, oh yeah, I can totally do a motorhome and it's fine. And yes, it's only going to probably take about 8 hours. Like that's a estimate. And you know, as long as everything is how it's supposed to be or whatever. So we're like, great. And he gives us a decent quote, much more in line with what the first guy gave us. And so he's like, yeah, give me 24 hours to get the part. We set up a time, and then while we had our home in the shop, he said it would only take a day, and so then we were gonna just stay at my younger brother and his girlfriend's house. So, you know, I had been in communication with my younger brother and telling him, and I'm like, well, they say they can do it in a day. It's a 24-hour shop, so it's possible that we might only need to just hang out there for the day, but we'll bring a change of clothes just in case, and we'll bring our stuff. So here's the thing, when we stay somewhere, hotel, somebody's house, whatever, I gotta bring my kitchen with me. I gotta make sure I have my Vitamix, gotta make sure I have my juicer, and then we have to bring all the food because we don't eat like everybody else. So, and we don't want to assume that somebody's gonna feed us or whatever. Like, we just want to make sure that we have what we need. So it's a lot of stuff. And then I gotta have my IQ air filter, and I gotta have my CPAP machine and all the things we need. It was a big load of stuff we had to take, so my husband borrowed his parents' SUV because we just have like a little bitty sedan and they had a nice decent sized SUV. The only problem is that while we were at his house, is that because they are upgrading their house to make it really nice and they're going to eventually sell it, and then they also have a bunch of friends who like are allergic to animals, so they have like 2 solariums in their house, 2 sunrooms that are these big, beautiful, gorgeous solariums. And the biggest one belongs to their cats. So they actually have 2 cats, but the cats have to stay in the solarium. Not always, but a lot of the time. And so the animals couldn't really come with us because there wasn't a place that we could put them to keep them separate that was going to be okay. So they stayed at my husband's parents' house. Now, the distance between my brother's house and my husband's parents' house is about 45 minutes. Not close. So when we thought that they were just going to be there for a day, no big deal. Like, that's fine. That's perfect, right? But what happened was, 2 things happened. The first thing that happened, when my husband took the RV in, there was already a big truck in the bay that they needed to use for the RV because they only had like one like big rigs area. And 40-foot RV is a big rig. So they had to wait until that truck was out of that bay to put the RV in and be able to work on it. So they weren't able to fix it in a day because they didn't even get to put it in until the end of that day. So, and we had been calling all day because we didn't know, like, are we spending the night? Are we not? Like, what's going on? Are they going to have it done? And so my husband had called them like a million times. And then finally, kind of toward the end of the day in the evening, he found out, no, we are spending the night. So we're like, okay. So then we load everything into my brother's house and up in his guest room. And then that meant that my husband then had to go back to his parents' house and spend the night with the animals because Muffins has separation anxiety and his parents have a no dogs in the bedroom rule. So they won't because they also have a little dog, but she doesn't sleep with them at night and she's cool with it. But Muffins would not be cool with it because even when they just try to put her in a room because their dog was trying to eat Muffins' food and they wanted to keep them separate so Muffins could eat, and they just put her in a separate room. And she flipped out and was like clawing at the door and howling. So that wasn't gonna work. She does not like to be separated from the humans ever. So they couldn't. So they were like, this, you can't, you're gonna have to come here. So he went there and he spent the night there. Oh, and if you're wondering, like, why didn't you all just go to his parents' house? It's because his parents have they use a lot of chemicals and perfumes and stuff like that, and I just can't be in their house. And so my son and I stayed at my brother's, and my husband went to his parents, and then in the morning he would come back bright and early, and the animals would stay at his parents, and he'd hang out with us all day, kind of help me out. And again, the second day, the same thing happened where he was calling the mechanic and they were like, well, we're waiting for this part to come in because there was another part they needed to complete the job. It turns out there was like a pipe and some bolts that they didn't know they were going to need to replace. But our exhaust manifold, the pipe that comes off of it was actually broken in half. Like, not just cracked, but actually broken in half. And that's why all of the exhaust was pouring into the RV. And so they had to order that part. And then they kept waiting for it to come, and it didn't come. So finally, I think they like sent a guy out to get it. It was like an hour away. And then he came back with it. But that was a whole thing. And so we did end up spending a second night at my brother's house. And while my brother's house is amazing and wonderful, it is stressful being in somebody else's space, and it's stressful for them to have you in their space. So my brother was incredibly accommodating and hospitable and gracious, and it was fine. But also, you know, it's a little stressful. So we wanted to be back in the RV where we could all be together and not having to run back and forth for my husband. And he also, when he had to run back and forth, was like getting us groceries and stuff like that, because fresh produce, you run out. And so everybody just wanted everything kind of back to normal. And it was, it was kind of exhausting and stressful. And again, we were just ready to be back in the RV. But finally, on the third day, oh no, because they had the RV fixed like late that night, the second day, but it was so late and the shop was in a not nice neighborhood at all. And so my husband was like, I think I'm just going to pick it up in the morning. So he had to pick it up before they closed, because they were open 24/7, but they would close early Saturday morning and then not open again until Monday. So be kind of closed for the weekend. So he picked up the RV early in the morning, and then what he was going to do is drop off the RV at the RV park, run to his parents' house, get the animals, then come pick us up, and then we're all going to go back to the RV. But when he texted me, I said, oh, when you dropped off the RV, did you plug it in? Did you get it plugged into water and electricity so that when we come back, we can just set everything up? And he said, oh no, but I'll just run by and do that before I come to you guys, because it's kind of on the way from his parents' house. And I was like, okay, cool. So some time went by and we're at my brother's house, and I'm like, how come my husband's not here yet? He should be here by now. And so I texted him and I'm like, what's going on? What's your ETA? Like, how come you're still there? And he said, the electricity's not working. And I was like, what? What do you mean the electricity's not working? He said, well, I had turned off the switches to all the electricity in the RV when I took it into the shop, because I didn't want the battery to drain if it was there for longer than we thought it was going to be, which it was. And he said, so when I went to turn back the switches on, he said, I plugged it in and I turned on the switches and nothing happened. And he said, so I'm trying to troubleshoot and see what I can do. And I'm like, oh, crikey. So I'm like, okay. So I told my brother what's happening, and I'm like, and my brother's going out of town, and his girlfriend was going to be at a conference all weekend, so it just wasn't going to work for us to keep staying there. So we would have had to grab a hotel, which that's no big deal. We could totally do that. But we were just like, are you kidding me? Because it's just like, we think it's fixed, and then this other thing. But okay, so ultimately he ended up getting the electricity turned on. He figured it out. It was a matter of like turning off switches and unplugging and plugging back in and turning on switches like in the right order or something, which was weird, but whatever, it worked. Our RV is from the year 2000. It's finicky. RVs are finicky anyway, even brand new right off the lot. There's always issues. Because you're driving a vehicle that's like bouncing around down the road. Anyway, the electrical in this RV has always been a little bit tricky. And okay, but he got it working. Yay. So he finally comes and we get everything. We get out of my brother's hair finally. So here is what, from that experience, also again to liken this, to tie this into my healing journey and to talk about like why I'm talking about all of this, is because it does apply to my healing journey. I also didn't mention in the last video, but I did get to see my mom for one day before the RV went into the shop, and I stayed with my brother. So that was awesome because I missed my mama. And I love to see her, and she's doing so well after she had her knee surgery a few months ago now, and she has been doing her physical therapy. And like when I was over there, she's like, okay, you're gonna help me with my physical therapy, and I was like, okay. And she's doing it, man. I'm so proud of her, and check her out. She's like determined to get her range of motion back, and she's doing really well. She was doing squats and everything, and I was like, holy crow, because she has balance issues. And so like she wears this belt, and I have to hold on to the belt. It's like a yoga belt, so that if she does lose her balance, I've got a hold of her and I can grab onto her and catch her. And she has someone coming in like 2 or 3 times a week and helping her, or my brother who lives with her to assist her. He helps her, or I was there so I helped her. she's just doing amazing, and I'm just so proud of her, and I was so happy to see her. Anyway, so my healing. So you may remember in the last video where I talked about how my endurance isn't great, right? And when we got to my brother's house is huge. It's 3,200 square feet. It's a big house. And there's an upstairs and a downstairs, and the bedroom that we were staying in, the guest room, is upstairs. And just walking from like the front door of the house to the back of the house, or like to the kitchen from any other room in the house. I've been in a tiny 2-bedroom apartment, and then in this RV. I have not been walking very far. My endurance is not strong. And the first day in his house, I was so exhausted from walking back and forth through the house, and then just honestly from the stress of the RV too. I was so tired. I went to bed at 7 o'clock at night, and I passed out, which meant I got up before the sun, and so I stayed in my room until I knew they were awake, and then I went downstairs. But I had my lemon water upstairs with me, so I was ready. And I was cool. I had my phone, just hung out, waited. But the second day, where I thought, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? Because the first day I was like crying a little bit to my husband and saying, I don't think I can do this. I'm so tired. I'm so exhausted, and I can't walk up and down these stairs, and it's hard, and I'm so worn out that I'm going to bed at 7, and what am I going to do? And then the next day, when I thought that I was going to be like so worn out and stuff, and in pain and all this stuff, I was not in pain. I had a good night's sleep. Their guest bed's super comfortable, and I had my IQ Air, so no noises to disturb me, and I was feeling all right. I came down the stairs in the morning, bright-eyed and bushy. I was like ready to go. I won't say bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, because I'm always a little bit groggy in the morning, but I was okay. And I had kind of talked to my brother about it, and I said, I think actually what it was, I said, I thought it was, just everything so far apart from each other in this house, and I thought it was my endurance. I said, actually, I think it was just that the floors are hard, and I usually wear these knitted slippers, but I didn't bring them, and I don't have my slippers, and so I've just been walking around on your floors barefoot, and that's really hard on my back and my feet. And he's like, oh, I've got extra slippers. And he gave me a pair of his slippers, and then I was great for the rest of the day. So I made it like all day, and I was fine, and I was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And I said to my brother, I think I could build up my endurance here, like walking around your house and stuff, because I still feel okay, like I'm still feeling good. And yeah, I still like went to bed at 7 and got up with the sun, or earlier than the sun the next day, but I slept well, and I really, again, with my recovery time, like my recovery time is just so much faster than I keep expecting it to be. I keep expecting like, oh, this is going to take me out, and it's going to take days and whatever. And it never, it's always like the next day I'm fine, the next day I'm fine. And I'm just like, what? And my brother drank celery juice with us, and he had it before. I was amazed to see that my brother actually ate a lot of the stuff. Like for lunch when he works from home. He owns his own company and he works from home. So for lunch, he came down and he like cooked himself up a veggie stir fry with, I don't know, I think maybe some coconut milk and Indian spices. And then later on, he came down for a snack, and it was fruit. And I think he had like fruit and nut butter, but I was like, hey, you're eating like we eat. And he's like, yeah. He said, well, I mean, he's like, look, we're not perfect, but he said, we eat pretty healthy. And they had on their counters like a lot of fruits and vegetables. I was amazed. I was really impressed. I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. It was really cool because then when I was making celery, like he wanted to try stuff we were having. And when I made celery juice, he's like, yeah, I'll have some celery juice. And then I handed him a 16-ounce glass, and he was like, oh, all this? And I'm like, yeah, that's how much you should have every day. So he was like, okay, and he drank it. And then we've been having the medical medium ginger, turmeric, garlic, orange juice shot every morning. So we made those, and we gave him one, and he had some of that, and it was really neat that he was willing to try those things. I don't know if he's going to incorporate them into his life or anything like that, but it was just cool that he was just like, yeah, no big deal. And he's like, I'll have some. Yeah. So then we finally got back into the RV where we are now. And I think that was yesterday. No, it was 2 days ago, I think. I don't know. Time has just been going so weirdly. Like, we were at my brother's for 3 days and 2 nights, and it felt like over a week. It just felt like so long. But not because we weren't having a good time, because I'll tell you what, if I'm going to be trapped somewhere, it was great to be trapped with one of my family members and just really getting to spend that time with him, because otherwise we would have just been having visits, which we still will. We'll still have a visit where it's like with my mom and my grandmother and both of my brothers and all of that. But it was just really nice to be sort of in his house and like witness a day in the life and sort of see how he lived and stuff like that, because I've never witnessed that before. I've never gotten to see that. And then just having him, you know, he was working while we were there, but he'd come down for breaks or for lunch and we'd chat a little bit. And on the Friday, his schedule was a little more open because he was traveling for work on the weekend, and it's just really nice. It was like a great gift. And his home is in such a beautiful area. There's like all of these old growth trees around, and then the buds were just coming in on some of the trees, so it was like giving this little pop of color, and there were birds everywhere. We got to see lots of birds and squirrels and chipmunks, and it was just so lovely because like those two solariums are just gorgeous. It's just so much light and windows in his house, and it's so airy. And I mean, if we had to be stuck somewhere, it was a great place to be stuck and great company to be stuck with. It was really nice. So yeah. But we were all happy to get back in the RV, into our own routine. And I did keep up my routine mostly there. It's just that it's a lot easier to do in your own space, you know. You're not occupying somebody else's space. And so here we are. We're back. And it's been a couple days. We've had a couple days of rest, so we'll probably be seeing family members again. I just, again, to talk about my healing specifically in this journey, wanted to really say I am just amazed 34 months into this journey. For the first, about 4 or 5 months in to healing, when I first started healing with medical medium information, we got in the RV for the first time, and we lived in it for about a year. We traveled from Oregon, where we lived at the time, down the West Coast, all the way down to San Diego, and then we went to Arizona, and then we went across through the Midwest to Ohio. Well, first we went to visit family, and then we went to Ohio, and then we went up to Wisconsin, and we kind of stopped in Wisconsin because my son had had enough. And he needed a break, and he needed a place to stay, and it was a lot for him. It was a big deal, so we did that, and now here we are. I guess we were there for like 18 months, and so 18 months later, now we're traveling again, and our start the first time was not nearly as stressful, so it was a lot. It was not such a big deal. I mean, you can see there's like bags under my eyes. I'm still tired, but I'm just so amazed at my resilience this time, at how quickly I recover. And medical medium has talked about that before. He specifically talked about it with chemical sensitivity. He said, obviously I'm paraphrasing, look this up yourself, listen to his show on multiple chemical sensitivity, read the Liver Rescue book on chemical sensitivity. But he basically said that you're always going to have that sensitivity. Like, you will continue to be sensitive, more sensitive than other people. You'll be more aware of the sense. You'll be more aware of everything, which of course we will, because we've become hyper aware of triggers in our environment and what sets us off and stuff like that. So of course we're still going to be aware of it. And he said, you'll still have the sensitivity, but your recovery time will be much faster. And he is not kidding. My recovery time is amazing. I'm so amazed, because I'm like, oh, I thought I wasn't even going to get to see my family because I was so wiped, like I would be so wiped out that it would just be me resting. But that hasn't been the case, and it's amazing. And even after that hotel and that first night, I was like, oh no, this is not good. It's so chemically here. And I was fine. And my brother's house even had a little bit, now look, this is not his fault. He really tried. They don't really use a lot of chemicals, but they do use these diffusers, and he thought that he had pure essential oils, and they weren't. And there was no way for him to know that, but my nose tells me. My nose and my reactions tell me. So when I walked in and they had been diffusing some of these, what they believed were pure essential oils, And I was like, no, it's chemicals. I said, I'm sorry, but I said, I know that I believe that you believed it, because I said, but most of those companies, they're not. Even though they say they are, and they're not as pure as they say they are, and a lot of them do use synthetic fragrances. And I said, and the kind you have, I don't know what it is, but it does. I can tell you that just from smelling the air. However, his house had so many windows that all he had to do was open a few of them. It totally aired out, and I was fine the rest of the time. Again, quick recovery, like nobody's business. I was just like, this is amazing, because even though I could sort of smell some of it in the air in certain places, certain rooms that didn't have as much airflow to them, I was okay. Like I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And you know, even the second hotel had like a tiny bit, but it wasn't that bad. It was doable. Not like the first hotel. The first hotel was would not recommend. Yeah, but my recovery time has just been so great, and there's still stuff, you know. My skin's been a mess, but I have been having papaya every day trying to clean it up, and I think part of the mess, I don't know. I don't entirely know. Obviously, there's dermatoxins coming out. I have been eating a lot of Brussels sprouts and asparagus, which really draw out toxins and pull stuff out of your liver. And sometimes that can cause more of this. And I have been eating a little bit of fat, which I don't usually eat overt fats. So, oh, I know, I made a hummus for my son, and that had tahini, so I had some of that. And Trader Joe's has this gnocchi. It's a cauliflower gnocchi, and it only just has like a little bit of olive oil in it. It's not very much fat, but I don't usually eat oils at all. And we've been having that because you can bake it. I learned from Plant Healing Together, I think that's who it was. They made an Instagram post and said, you can bake this cauliflower gnocchi even though it's not on the package, and it's so great because it gets a little crisp on the outside. And they gave instructions for baking it at 325 because they said the oils can go rancid if you heat them higher than that for olive oil. So they said bake at 325 for 40 minutes. For our ovens, it's been more like 50 to 60. Your oven times may vary, but it's something that is not perfect. But traveling, when we were kind of in and out of my brother's house, it was something that we could make that was quick and easy, and just throw pasta sauce on it. I recommend pasta sauce, but then using fresh basil. Oh, it is so good, so good. So I've been having that a little bit. That was something I didn't eat before. So, and sometimes when I eat fat, this is what happens to my skin. So I don't know, whatever, it's whatever. And I'm not even trying to worry about it right now. I'm just trying to keep healing foods going in. And I have been having every day papaya and having heavy metal detox smoothie still, and the shot that I talked about. Oh, turmeric, actually. Raw turmeric, do this too. Can like, I guess it has like a strong detox effect on me. So it pulls stuff out, but I'm still having it every morning because it's so good for the immune system. And I need extra immune boosting stuff now because I'm, have been under a lot of stress, and I'm just trying to mitigate the effects of that as much as I can. So that has been the saga so far of us getting out of our apartment into the RV, getting the RV fixed, and now, knock on wood, I just have to say, now hopefully we can just chill and do our routine and visit our family and friends that we are intending to see here, and just rest and heal. I will say the weather here is so much warmer. It has been, there were a couple of nights, the past couple of nights that were really cold, but tomorrow it's supposed to be, this is Midwest weather for you. This is how it rolls. So it was chilly today, like chilly. You had to wear long sleeves, long pants, and a jacket. Tomorrow it's going to be 81 degrees. So, and humid. And there's been, because it's spring, there's thunderstorms. So a couple nights ago we had a thunderstorm that was shaking the RV. Not the storm, but the wind. The wind was shaking the RV. And of course I was like, it woke me up, and I was like, angels, please. I'm like asking the angels, like, please protect us and protect this RV park and keep everybody safe from this storm. And I'm not even kidding you, after I said that prayer a couple of times, it stopped. I'm not saying that I did it, or that, not that I did it. I'm not saying that that did it, but that was pretty cool. It stopped shaking the RV. And I thanked the angels for that. Because I was like, oh my goodness, if it's blowing hard enough to shake an RV, it's blowing pretty hard. Because this RV is heavy. It is loaded down with stuff. So yeah, the weather here is a little bit crazy. It just does whatever it wants. It's like one day it's 30 degrees, a couple days later it's 81. Welcome to the Midwest. So that's been my situation in my healing journey right now, and I don't know if I'm gonna be able to make any like topical videos while I'm in this sort of transition space and visiting family, because we are pretty occupied with that, but I will do my best. And if you have any suggestions for videos you'd like me to make, leave them in the comments below. I'd be happy to at least add them to my notebook of suggestions and make them at some point. Thank you so much for watching. Oh, I so appreciate you, my healers and health seekers. I'm so happy to be back making videos, and hopefully we'll be consistent again, but I don't know, because who knows what can come up. RV life is unpredictable. Visiting family is unpredictable. I don't know. I'll do my best. In the meanwhile, there's lots of other videos of mine you can watch, and there's other YouTubers who are healing on medical medium too. Give this video a like down below if you like it. You can subscribe to my channel by hitting that subscribe button there. Oh. Or you can hit the bell next to it and be notified when I post new videos. Again, all my healers and health seekers, stay curious. Remember that you can heal. Thank you so much for being a part of my journey. I love you. I miss you. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye.